Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Smith of the In the Black VTF here at www.t3live.com with today's market wrap up and certainly an interesting day of trading, interesting week, and certainly an interesting week coming up with the slew of earnings and the way the market's been acting and a lot of the setups I'm going to talk about right here. So, SPY, you can see the 30-minute broadening formation, higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low, back to the highs. Skirted the highs most of the day here and just kind of trying to walk up. If we take a look at QQQ, QQQ looks a little boring, although it was up 5 days in a row this week, and just kind of walked up a good portion of the day here. And if you look at this 15er here, it was a little boring, but it was quite a feat that there's some of these things, while it was doing that, if you look at some of the semiconductors like SWKS, AVGO, NXPI, these things were getting just mutilated, and the Qs refused to quit. Now, overnight, we had those big gappers that helped it get up there from Amazon, and the Googster here was nice, and the Goog just backs off red, and Amazon didn't do too much after that opening. But with those things getting destroyed and those things just sitting there, the Qs sitting up there was quite a good feat here. If we take a look at Microsoft, that was your good gapper winner here, and we can shrink that down here. And in the morning, we like to look at the gaps first thing to see if we can find a gap or go, gap and reverse. And the way we want to look to try and capture something like that is an inside bar. So if you looked at the first 15 minutes, it was inside 15, took that out and never came back. Another inside 15, you were able to ride that for the rest of the day. That was real good. Another gap and reverse we looked at in BNT down, and granted this first 15er is way up there, but for the rest of the day, nice walk up, gap and reverse there, real nice stuff there. So what makes this thing interesting here is although the SPY is closing in on the highs up in here on the daily and stuff like that, that there's a lot of things we want to look to reconfirm this move or negate it. And by that, I mean, do we see any sectors that are breaking down while we're going up that would be a concern, or are we all starting to swoop going up? So I'll get to that in just a second. Another thing that was interesting to play here right at the end of the day is anytime you come to a Friday when options are going to expire, we look for short-term setups right at the end of the day, right around strike prices, because there's no premium or very little premium left, I should say. And so we looked at the end of the day here, was very nice. If you look at XLE, basically not doing much and stuck in this range on the daily. But if you look at the 15 here, see it goes inside 15 here with 45 minutes to go. And when that popped up through there, we were looking at stocks around strikes that had the 15 setup, an Emirata Hess, XEC, PXD. So you got some nice little pops out of those late premiums, some real nice pops to look for. So that's plays certainly you want to look for on any given Friday. So when I talk about looking at the QQQ here, and the Qs here, recent highs here, and expando up there. And if you look at the SPY, like I said, hanging near the highs. The question is, are we going to confirm that? Are there other sectors that can confirm or negate that? And that's certainly the first thing we want to look at is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Dow Jones Diamond closes an inside day and also closes an inside week. I mean, so far, it's still formed an equilibrium. Couldn't make a higher high, couldn't make a lower low. So if we're going to continue to reconfirm, we're going to see if that inside week can break to the upside of the diamonds. And certainly, I'll shrink that down a little bit for you, certainly plenty of names in the Dow Jones to do that, because you've got inside week for Intel. You've got an inside week for Oracle. You've got an inside week for Pfizer. You're like, Rob, these are a little boring. I'm like, well, as a whole, you've also got JP Morgan. You've got Exxon. You've got Merck. All these equilibriums are going to matter. Johnny John. You've got UNH. You've got American Express. You've got Home Depot. So all of that is certainly going to make a difference next week on which way we want to see if the Dow Jones Diamonds can go. And with the QQQ, we're going to also look at see how this IBB works. And the IBB is slow but steady and closes as an inside day here. So to start off the week, we're going to see if that inside day continues to take a shot at the highs or drops back in a little bit. If we take a look at the small cappers, IWM was also inside day and inside week. That's going to need to reconfirm or negate these moves. If we go to FAS, this is going to be real interesting, because as we approach the highs, FAS goes in not only inside week, but inside day, and with the end of the month coming, looking like an inside month. And so certainly the financials are going to have something to say about how far this market goes, one way or the other. If we take a look at the transports, interesting here because they went inside month and broke to the downside but returned back. And that's, if it continues towards the highs, we call that a reversal strategy because the equilibrium was attempted to break to the downside but failed. And one of the best things we looked at today was at Microsoft. It was an inside month. It broke to the downside, but it couldn't hold. And as soon as it can't hold and starts reversing, that's all sorts of problems for anybody trying to short these slight lower lows in here. And certainly that you can tell by the action of the daily intraday how jammed exactly so many people were when you see that kind of buying power. So in the transports, you're going to have Union Pacific to watch in the rails. Inside week here, does it go down sideways inside week and try and measure it move and fall apart, or as it reaches its equilibrium and try and come back up? You've also got JetBlue and the airlines. Look at that inside week near the highs. So keep an eye on that. We also had an inside week for XRT retail, and certainly that's going to matter too because you got the Home Depot, you got Lowe's, both inside there. You got TJ Maxx, you've got Costco. All this stuff is going to matter in the biggest, in the grander scheme of pieces parts. You also have Dollar Tree here as an inside week to keep an eye on, as well as some of the major stocks. GoPro, or at least the major tradable ones. GoPro's an inside week. Twitter with earnings coming up. Inside week. You have LinkedIn, also an inside week here. And what's interesting here too is if it starts moving higher, remember we can look for those inside months that broke to the downside but couldn't hold, and LinkedIn is certainly one of them if it wants to come up and try and reverse that inside bar break. So certainly going to be keeping an eye on that. If we go to crude oil finally green on the month. Haven't been able to say that very often, and now, at least as far as the USO proxy, goes inside week here. And so if we look at some of the major things over there, you're going to see Schlumberger stays as an inside week. You're going to see PXD stays as an inside week. Conoco stays as an inside week, to keep an eye on all that stuff. Also in Techland, you've got Baidu, inside week there as well. You've got KLAC to watch in these semis. It's been a classic underperformer, but now inside week to see if that can pick up some steam or continues to walk down this channel-like action there. We also have SanDisk going as an inside week to see how it can break out of there. You've got Wynn Resorts here, another inside week. So as we come into the end of the month, certainly we're attempting more highs in a lot of these in the broader averages, but until all this stuff resolves, certainly at risk of at least a slight pullback or something that we want to be aware of. So we're going to be watching all of this stuff with the earnings, group by group, piece by piece, is everything looking to confirm or negate this rally, and that's going to make things very interesting next week. Certainly a good week of trading this week, and when you see all these types of setups, you realize how much more there still is to go. So we'll see how it goes. Everybody have a great weekend. It was a great week of trading. Hope you all have a nice weekend and a great trading week next week. I'm Rob Smith of the In the Black VTF here at www.t3live.com with today's market wrap-up.